This question is asking us to find the average speed in miles per hour for the entire trip. So I need to think about how many miles they completed and how many hours it took them to do the entire trip. So let's look at this. We know that the entire trip ended right here at this dot. And this dot is 143 miles. And it took them 11 hours to do it. And to find speed, I need to figure out how many miles in just 1 hour per hour. So we have to think about how to scale this down. If I can do 143 miles in 11 hours, think about what you'd have to do to find out how much you would do in just 1 hour. And what we're going to do is we're going to divide by 11, because 11 divided by 11 gets me to my target amount of 1. And if I'm going to divide that by 11, I have to divide the miles by 11. And that tells me that they can do 13 miles in 1 hour. So their average speed was 13 miles per hour. All right, so when you read this information, it tells us that the team were on bikes for only part of the trip, and they were on a van for another part of the trip. So we want to look at this graph and think about when did the team put its bikes on the trailer and begin riding in a van? So when did they get in the van? So they get in the van, you would imagine that when you get in a van, your speed is going to increase. So we can see right here at hour 9, right after hour 9, the dots go up steeply. So that means they must be traveling faster because they're covering more miles in an hour. So we would say at hour 9. And we need to think about how many miles did they travel in the van. So at mile 9, they had already done 54 miles. And by the end of the trip, they had gotten to 143 miles. So how many miles did they cover while they were in the van? We would have to do some subtraction to figure that out. And so we see that they would have done 89 miles in the van. And we have to think about how many hours did they travel in the van. Well, they got in the van at hour 9 and they ended at hour 11. So that would be 2 hours. Oops, 2 hours. All right, this next question is asking us for the average speed for the trip completed in the van. So if we think back to the previous problem, we know that they completed 89 miles in 2 hours. And we need to figure out how many miles can they do in a single hour. So we have to divide by 2. To get from 2 hours down to 1 hour, we cut it in half. So half of 89 is 44.5. So 44.5 miles per hour. Now the next question wants, what was the team's average speed for the trip completed on bikes? So this is the trip on bikes. Okay, that's when they're on the bike. So let's think about how long they're on the bike. So we want to think how many miles and how many hours were they on the bike. So looking at my graph, I can see that this is when they're done being on the bike, and that is 54 miles in 9 hours. And we want the speed, so we want how many miles in just a single hour. So to get from 9 down to 1, we're going to divide by 9. And over here we'll divide by 9. and we would end up with 6. So 6 miles per hour.